Charlie here, and today I'm talking about projectors within the human design system, and more specifically careers for projectors. So this is a question I hear a lot. What should I do for work? Should I wait? How do I find a job that's good for me if I'm not supposed to go after it, or if I don't have the energy like other people have? And I totally get this question, and I understand it from my own experience. When I found out about the human design system, I was like, okay, because my instincts are to go after things. My instincts are to manifest, because we're in a generator world full of energy, go, 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 full-time work. And then manifestors originally almost created the world and had the power. So it's about, okay, going after what you want, working hard, and this is the society that we've lived in for so long, masculine-dominated society. And especially if you look even into personal development, you look into people over the last 50 years, most of the most successful people in the personal development space are people that push, like go harder or go home. There's all these successful people who have made it on hard work. And a little bit of a side note, but even someone like Tony Robbins, who I really admire, he's got a lot of masculine and feminine. He's quite connected to his feelings and healing. He's obviously much more embodied masculine. And I saw a clip of him where a woman was standing up to him about women's rights or the Me Too movement. And Tony was sharing his views. And there was a backlash about that because his views were maybe not as empathetic. So I think in Tony even, there's going to be a shift into maybe slightly more feminine, because the world is moving into a feminine, healing, softer space where people's needs can be met, where we can love more deeply. So this is the world that I believe is wanting to be born. And someone like Tony Robbins, who's probably the most successful personal development person, because he maybe isn't fully in that, and he's got a lot of his success from making shit happen and being a man and being masculine and going out and getting there. There was some backlash between the feminine and the masculine within him to cause this, external situation where there was some backlash. That's just a little side comment, because projectors are actually more feminine in nature, especially when we're coming into a project. We need to be sort of drawn into it like a magnet. We can't run after it and that can be extremely hard for masculine women or masculine men, because we're told to use our heads and go after what we want and just hustle, hustle, hustle until we succeed. You may succeed, but you'll succeed to the detriment of your health, relationships, peace of mind, fulfillment, joy, all the good stuff. So it depends what you say is success. But if you're a projector and you're sitting there, you're probably wanting to know, okay, what the hell do I do? How do I go about it? How do I find the right job for me, etc., etc.? So we need to be invited. So if you don't know, I'm a projector myself. I'm a splenic projector. So we need to be invited or recognized. So this is the fundamental sort of foundation of being a projector. So therefore, if you're going after something and you're just going, you may not be invited, and you may not even be recognized for who you are and what you can bring to the project. So therefore, there's going to be constant resistance, and no one's going to be acknowledging you. You're going to want acknowledgement. You've got to want to be recognized, because you're a projector. You're not going to receive that. It's going to cause friction if you go into it starting off on the wrong foot. It's very important how you go into a new job, into a new project and these things. Okay, well then you ask, fine. So I should just wait then? Should I just do nothing? Should I just be some slob? The answer is no. In my opinion, some other people might say, yeah, you should really just do nothing. Just wait, and then the invitation will come. you know, I don't do that myself. I've found a flow that works for me, and I see it work with other projectors as well, and this is what I feel works best. So I feel like, no, we're here to play, we're here to have fun, we're here to live our passion. So of course, continue to do the things you love, but even in terms of career and projects, you can be open to what life says, and I'm going to get into this in a couple of minutes, but I want to give you a couple of examples of how I've got into certain projects in the past and what's happened for me. So my first business that I created was with two friends, and it was originally a smoothie van. Now it's in a store. There's thousands of superfood balls being sold around cafes around Australia, like wholesale. And this is a company that I originally started, but I left about a year and a half ago. So I was in it for about 2.5 years. Now, how did I originally get into this company? Well, on my birthday, I went to a restaurant. It was called Veggie Bar in Melbourne. And a friend called me a few days later, and he was like, and who I invited to the dinner, and he's like, oh my God, we should create a veggie bar. How about we do this? And so it started off like, going to create this restaurant, and then it went into a smoothie van, for example. That's what happened. But my friend gave me a direct invitation, and I felt excited when, and he recognized me because he was like choosing me to create this with him. And then that started this business, and the business is still very successful. So that's one thing, that's a project that I went into correctly, for example. The next one was Buddha Superfoods, and this was also doing superfood balls, and this was my partner. So Kelly is a generator. Now she was selling superfood balls to family and friends back in America. I arrived there, and she was so passionate in that we were like, wow, this is actually a really cool thing. And then we met someone just randomly, and he was like, oh my God, this is the best idea ever. You guys have to do this. Send me some. And that was like an invitation to really go for it and share our gifts. So that was another thing. Now, I ran a workshop about 2 years ago, and it was called Love Man, and it was to do with masculinity, sensuality, and me and a friend did this. And we're both projectors. So how do two projectors get invited to something that doesn't really work? Well, we were sitting in conversation, and none of us was like, oh, I really want to do this, I really want to do this. We didn't have the thought. But throughout this dance of conversation, we started to naturally talk about sensuality, naturally talk about masculinity, and we started to bounce ideas, and we came up with this thing, but it wasn't so planned, it was very fluid. So that's another project that sort of came about by me not pushing anything. Whereas my instinct previously was to push and to work really hard. So now I'm sitting here, I'm a coach, I'm into detoxification, I'm into human design, I'm into unlocking my gifts and helping other people unlock their gifts. That's what I do. And I'm also super passionate about projects. So I ran my first retreat last year with my partner in Bali, which was amazing. And that's a project, for example. But I'm also interested in businesses and creating businesses. I love that. I love that side. But I'm sitting here, and I know that as a projector, I'm not just going to go out there and just have an idea and just push and run for it. And that's what I was trained to do. That was my upbringing. That was my schooling. That's what everyone says you should do. But that doesn't work for me, because when I've done that, when I've tried to do that with projects, it just is such a huge uphill battle. Going back to Blenco, things started to shift within the company, and after about 2 years, I felt I was not being recognized for my gifts and my talents anymore. And that's the reason why I left. I had to trust that life was telling me, okay, this chapter is complete, I'm moving on, because I was no longer being recognized. You can continually be recognized and invited, and if that stops, well then it's something to really look at. So I've noted that, yeah, I could push because I put in 2.5 years into that business, and I could push, but it was such an uphill grind for me and my essence, that I just had to let it go and trust that something else would open up. And many things opened up, and I'm so glad that that happened, and I trusted that innate instinct in me that was like, okay. And knowing about human design and knowing that I'm a projector, I could really see that I'm not fully being recognized. Even though I'm showing up in love, giving my best, I just wasn't being recognized anymore by the same people who were recognizing me before. That was a clear sign. So I'm constantly looking out for the environment. So let me give you one last example of like a present example as me as a projector. So all the time I'm talking with people. I'm talking with business people. I'm talking with health people. I'm talking with transformational people. I'm talking with people from all different walks of life. Now, when you're talking to lots of people and really beautiful people, inspiring people, people who are making big changes, of course, there's going to be many moments where I'm going to come across an idea or someone's going to suggest something or whatever, and it's going to be like, oh, that's such a fantastic idea. I want to run with that, and then go and find people to create that with me, and then go, yeah, let's do this. But that doesn't work, and that's what I would have used to have done. So I was on the phone with a friend the other day, and he was talking about, he works in a big company in Sydney. He's got a lot of experience. He's got a lot of network, and we were talking about coffees or smoothie vans and businesses, and he wants to travel and these things, and he mentioned that he wants to potentially start a retreat, and it was like a surf yoga retreat. And then I had some additional suggestions on top of that in terms of, you could market it to these type of people, you could do this, you could do that, and there was a real excitement in the space. Now, as a projector, I'm not going to just be powerless in situations and be like, oh, I'm not getting an invitation, it's not working out for me. Oh, well, I'm just walking around hoping for an invitation, trying to like plant seeds like, oh yeah, like maybe you should invite me, or maybe, you're not like fishing for invitations. So I wasn't sitting on that call just being like, oh, maybe he'll invite me. It didn't happen, but I'm a splenic projector, so instinct, something comes up intuitively. And when he was talking, I wasn't really thinking, yeah, I've run a retreat before, I plan to run many more. But he's a really good friend of mine, and he was sharing this. And then an instinctual response came up with me, an intuitive response of excitement. And I was like, oh, wow, I could see us creating a retreat together because we have different skills along with this other person. Yeah, we could actually create this together. And I shared that at the end, just some excitement, just like, oh, by the way. And I threw it out into the space. And he was excited, he received it. But I'm not pushing that. When I hung up the call, the way I felt, because I can be quite entrepreneurial, I can be quite driven, motivated, enthusiastic, like make things happen. If this was me 5 years ago, I would have just gone, this is happening. I would have started researching places that we could purchase. I'd start researching what we're going to do, how we can market it, our brand. I'd be calling them, like my friends, over and over, like, yeah, we're going to do this. I'd be like pushing this to happen. With the understanding of being a projector and knowing how to choose career, how to choose projects, I throw things and see if they stick. So I don't, of course, if you get a direct invitation, that's beautiful, that's amazing. But I don't think that we have to totally 100% disconnect from our own internal desires of wanting to create something. And if someone doesn't give us a direct invitation, then we're just going to sit there and just not going to do anything. I'm just going to paint in my room until someone walks into my room and says, hey, you want to create a retreat with me? No, like I don't believe that. Well, maybe that just wouldn't be fun for me, so I just don't choose that. But I find a balance knowing that I'm a projector and also knowing how the world works, and it's currently a manifesting world and a generating world. So how can I as a projector blend into that? Now, obviously as a projector, when you get when you gain more success, when you gain more status, when you gain more recognition, you can drop into being a projector more. Because say if you're Tony Robbins, Tony Robbins is a projector, he's a manifesting generator, full-blown, like, boom, and you can see that. Let's say he was a projector and he's as successful as he is. Well, that'd be a very easy projector life because everyone just goes to him and says, hey, can you coach me? Can you do this? What happens if you're wanting to start out? You can't sit in your room if you want to start to be a transformational coach, or if you want to start a really amazing business and just expect, oh, I'm just going to wait for someone to ask me to coach them, or for someone to say, hey, like, let's create this business together. I'm just going to sit in my room and I'm just going to paint because I like painting. Like, maybe you could do that because you'd find inspiration and maybe you'd want to sell your paintings or whatever. But I'm saying there's a balance, and I found a balance that really works for me, and I wanted to share that with you. And that balance is to, if something comes up in me intuitively, because I'm splenic projector, and it's in communication with someone, I can throw it out there and see if it sticks, and I trust life that it will stick if it's supposed to stick. If it's not supposed to stick, it's not supposed to stick. So I threw it out there, there was some excitement, and I just left it. Previously, I'd be doing all these other things, getting it ready. I would have called him again. How about this? How about this? I'm just going to leave it and see, because if it sticks and if he comes back and he's really excited about it and he starts going and actually generating some things for himself and being like, I found this, I found that, then it's like, oh wow, he really sees and recognizes that I'd be a great combination within this to build a retreat, for example. Excuse me. So then it would be a very harmonious collaboration. Now, if I'm pushing as a projector to go, 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 well, it's probably not going to be that harmonious because I might not even be recognized in the first place for who I really am. So it's going to be an uphill battle for me pushing uphill. So I don't think there's specific areas that projectors are good at and not good at. Yeah, we're guides, so we can guide people. We can manage energy well. So naturally, we're good if we're managers. If we're here to guide people. So if we are in a somewhat of a role with responsibility, then that can be beneficial. But at the same time, just follow your passions and see what sticks. Don't push something that's not actually working for you. So this is a tip that I have. I hope you got something from this. Ask any questions. If you want to know more about this, I'll make more videos. Put comments below about what videos you'd like me to make on human design or projectors if you want as well. And yeah, I just felt called to really share this because I would have loved this information 5 years ago, knowing how my life would turn out and, knowing how I could choose and allow life to happen rather than pushing so much. So I'm very grateful for where I am in my life right now, and wishing you all an amazing journey, and I'll speak to you on the next video.